Hey, welcome to this episode of ACA for all your adult. I do this every week. Adult current affairs show. Yeah. A little bit silent tonight, just me by myself as usual. Luckily, I actually be doing a show tonight. We've had big storms roll through the southeast corner of Queensland, and luckily I got missed, so I'm here tonight to actually bring you the show. Tonight we'll be talking about, damn it, I forgot what the name of the topic is. Oh, uh, adult Lego fan events and the goods and the bads of them, the inside outs and runnings of AFOL events and just generalized Lego events here around Australia and around the world. We'll work through all the different topics and share to you information that normally people in the public don't really get to see. Um, Make your choice how to go to a show. Are you ready to go to a show? What type of planning goes into going into a show? And also, um, what are the costs and what is your expectation of seeing how the event will be in your mind? So let's start off. I'm, as everyone knows, an AFOL adult fan of Lego. Now, around Australia and around the world, we run events, what are Lego fan events, or we mostly call them brick events, are run in and around different venues around Australia, also overseas. I shouldn't forget my overseas fans there, but yeah, a lot of things go into creating these shows. Some of these shows are privately run. Examples, Brick Events is one of the companies who run all the Q-Lug shows. Overseas, you have Brickfest Live in the US, and I think there's a couple up in Europe and UK, Asia, who are actual companies who run Lego events. Then you go down a level, and then you actually have groups who have basically, what's the word? I forget, but that classifies as a club. Oh damn it, what's the word? But they can run and make an income from a show, and they usually work on either not for profit or, in some cases, they are for profit. Any show is a profit show. They have to make profit to run shows. Shows can't run free of charge. Venues costs are ridiculously high. You can have venues as low as, let's say, $1,000 to big convention centers, what can be tens of thousands of dollars to run. So there's a lot of costs that go into running these events. So if you're going to an event and you think, oh, it's too expensive to go to that show, think of all the inside and outs of how people have gone to actually put on that show, and not feeling like you're getting your money's worth when you got to put in your mind that they've got to pay workers in the case of businesses. Um, Also, they got to cover costs like hall hire. They even have to pay for utilities and stuff like that, and it's not a cheap thing to run. So, a lot of people out there, they really have to make an income some ways to keep shows going. Um, then you got your smaller event shows where it's just a little event in a school hall, something, or a fete. Those are usually a lot smaller, a lot disorganized, but are usually run just by small groups of people. Example, we have a QLUG members. If you've watched my streams before, he's Philip from Mount Isa, not Philip from Bundaberg. Get those two mixed up. Philip from Mount Isa, he does shows. He goes actually to their local country show every year. and puts on the Lego display there. Also, I think he puts a couple of displays on a year at other venues, including school fetes and stuff like that. That's basically all. They have access to them. So that's the inside and outs of how a show runs in the case of up before you get down to A4 level. Now, the biggest issues with shows like this, they do give you a time limit of signing up. So now we're going to talk about sign up. If you want to be a part of the show displaying or bringing a model along, you do have to sign up. So I'm going to share with you oops, I already had it open. Where is it? There it is. Brickfest Live, because other ones are similar in the way, but their one's a little bit more clearer. I'll bring it up. If I can remember how to bring the screen up, screen share. There we go. Okay. That's the right one. Share. Okay. So Brickfest Live in the US, their form is basically straightforward. Every event around the world uses something similar. They get your details, then they ask your age. Some shows have a compulsory age, so they don't usually ask for it. You have to have a description of your display. 9% of the time, they usually like a cool name. Then they go through, they ask you table widths, table lengths, how much space you'll use, the type of table. Some cases like brick events, if you bring your own table, you're going to have them provide tables. That is another cost what these events go through. Also, they sometimes ask you what type of tablecloth you want on top as well. Moving on, then they ask for a description of your display. In some cases, they do ask for you to send it's not the red button, Douglas. It's not the red button. Sorry, guys. Just a little inside joke there. Usually they ask for photos and that to confirm that it's a mock. Most shows, particularly here in Australia, and I think some of the major ones in the US, do ask for mocks, not sets. That seems like a really problem with shows. Everyone sees kits every day in stores, their friend's place, mum, dad's, nana's, granddad's places. You name it. Wherever Lego's built, there is a Lego kit. So they usually are chasing either mocks. Usually dioramas are the most popular things. A lot of oh yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know about that one. Thank you, Douglas. Chicago even asked for you can get custom tablecloths. Oh, that's cool. Then sometimes they ask for details of your lug in that. In case of some other events in Australia, some of them say you're not allowed to promote your lug group other than their group. So yeah, you do get some problems with there. But that's in the fair game is you're not promoting another lug show in trade for letting them display there. So that's the insides and outs of signing up for a show. So it's slow there. But the main thing is before you go in and actually decide you're going to do a show, make sure you decide what you're going to construct, what you're going to build. Make sure it's not something everyone does. Someone's Oh yeah, and the anti-t-shirt rule. Yes, I know about that one. But yeah, no. Trying to keep mocks and displays to a point in the way of forms that it forms to something interesting for the kids out there to go to. I'll just bring off the screen share. You won't see me again. So I should put the light on. There we go. I forgot to turn the light on when I started the stream. So yeah, no, that's the major thing. Just make sure you choose a theme everyone would like, but try not to copy or make something similar to something you've seen somewhere, because sometimes people get edgy if you copy something and then claim it's yours. That has happened at shows. So make sure it's all original mocks and creations. You could even a lot of people, you can get away with small creations at some shows. Some shows you can do micropolis like Shree does, ball contraptions, small things like that can contribute. Or you can go up to the full size dioramas like my mother's display of the Wild West, which is awesome, was spread over 4 tables. But you clearly couldn't put on one table. So yeah. Now, talking about large displays and moving Lego, this is the next topic to talk about before we move along. A few more little dips and dabs I know of. I'm going to share with you. The number one problem people have out there is shipping their Lego mocks and creations to shows. In our cases, we have big, giant boxes or shipping crates. Some of them are actually just doors where we put our displays on, and then we screw or bolt into the side of our box, which just slides up and over the top of them. In some cases, I have a rolling case because we are scrimping on space, because we had basically, was it 8 tables shipped in one year? Oh, actually, no. Keep forgetting we take Sean's display as well, so that's another 2. So we had 10 tables of displays in my dad's ute. A lot of problems of shipping big models like that. You need a big vehicle, and we're lucky we got a trailer and a ute. If you don't know what a ute is, it's a utility vehicle, or in the case of the US, truck. Some people use vans, some use trailers, some use just tote boxes. Simple ways of shipping your things, as long as your display is safe. Well, bubble wrap in the case of boxes. Usually you don't have the problems with big shipping crates. 90%, you might have a 3 or 4% damage. What you might spend an hour or two just correcting. In the case of trees and that, no, they won't stand up in crates. So you will be at least rebuilding trees if you have trees on your mocks, and it does take a bit of fiddling around to get your displays up and ready. Plus, you got to have multiple people to ship in big, large boxes. Where Philip Price, Dark Side, he needed our help to get his boxes in. But yeah, no, that's the thing. You gotta make sure you have friends or relatives around who can get anything on. Yes, anything with wheels. Other little tips and trips I usually say is simple dolly boards. If you don't know what a dolly board is, go to Bunnings.com or wherever. There's just little boards, what usually what do you call them, removalists use. We have 2 dolly boards, what we use under our big displays. They're rated to 200 kgs or 300 kgs. I can't remember. Kilograms of weight per board. So that's like 400 to 600 kgs of weight. And we usually drop 3 of the displays on top of those dolly boards and shipping them in one hit. So that does get in. In the case of my display is in 2 rolling boxes, what are actually universally designed to be used for our store as well. So, yeah, dolly boards do help, and they do come in multiple sizes. Surprisingly, you don't need big dolly boards. My dolly boards are probably 45 centimeters, 50 centimeters, somewhere around there, wide, and we use doors. So doors are probably about the size of these ones behind me, but normal inside outdoors, and that's all. We put everything on, cover over, bolt in the sides, in, out, done. A lot of investment in them. That's the number one problem about them. But if you don't invest in your displays in the future, especially if you travel a lot like our family does, we do anywhere up to 5 shows a year, and it's a lot of traveling to do. We have had our displays travel all the way up to far north Queensland to Cairns, all the way down to Coffs Harbour in the south, and all the way out to Toowoomba. And I think we've had about, I think the most has been nearly 50% damage. That's due to my dad's poorly constructed MOG. Yeah. That has happened, but that was because we went over rough road on the way down. My display's been maximum 20% damage. Yes, it takes time to repair stuff, but people become creative with damage. Like the last show, one of our displays, roller coaster thing they had in their fairground. I mean, theme park. That's the word. Yeah, got destroyed. Seriously destroyed, and he ended up. I'm trying. Was it put a dragon on top and said the dragon destroyed it? So yeah, you can be creative if something happens to your mock, but 90% of the time you can rebuild them. That's the thing about Lego. You can rebuild Lego and create stuff. Okay, so we've talked about shipping and moving. Next step in planning is your accommodation. If you're going to stay nearby, or if you're lucky, like some people, you live just down the road, so you don't really have to worry about that. Accommodation is usually the first thing you should think of after you have confirmation of going to a show. Boxes and storage, that could be up until about a month before you have to go to a show. But your accommodation, you have to book it out as far out as you can, because if it's close to a school holiday or there's something on that weekend in that same area other than the Lego show, you will find it very hard to book into accommodation. When it comes to accommodation, you got to make sure it's close enough but not too far away for you to travel to and from the show. It's going to be conveniently in an area where you can get food. Also, it's got to be decent enough to get you a good night's sleep. Yes, you could go for a cheap accommodation, but they're going to be paper thin walls, I guarantee you there. So, best bets, look on booking.com. What if I forget whatever those other ones? Have a look on there first. That is your first point of call. Yeah, tennis tournaments. I've had triathlons, racing car events, uh, school holidays. Oh, you name it. Yeah. Yes. It's a killer for. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're talking about Melbourne, yeah. Brick Convention. Oh yes, Melbourne is actually one of the worst shows. I wish they would ship that show to another part of the year. That is the killer for it. We got um, was it the Australian Open, tennis Open, in Melbourne, and it's around the same time as Brick Convention, and it's yeah, very hard to book into accommodation. Um, but still going along the topic with accommodation, as I said, check out those sites. Do your research first. Go through, find a location you like, get an idea of what the ratings are and all that before you go and book. Don't book online. That is my number one tip. Do not book online. Ring them up. 9% of the time, you can get a better deal by ringing. A good example is when we had a show in Brisbane City. I mean, in the city. It was actually on the fringe of the inner city, called Bowen Hills. We were in the showgrounds there, and my mum rang up. There was a new hotel opened up. I think it was February the year we were doing this show. She rang up and booked us in, and we basically saved, I think it was over $100 a night, booking into this place. Plus, we got a fantastic deal on breakfast. I know it wasn't a cheap breakfast, but it was a filling breakfast. It was good for the shows. It was a buffet breakfast. What was it, $20 a night? But the funny thing about it, we had, I think it was nearly a $70 food voucher included with our thing, what was supposed to be for room service, and we hardly used it. So we got that off our breakfast meal. So we only spent, what was it, maybe $10 overall in extra costs for food and that weekend. But some places, they don't have as crash up foods, so you have to oblige and find somewhere to go and eat. Um, when it comes to accommodation and food, your best bet is to go somewhere like Hungry Jack's. That's my number one place to get good brekkie in the morning. I would avoid McDonald's, very expensive, but Hungry Jack's have a better fill up rate. Other places, even a bakery will do. Anything cheap, easy, you can grab, you eat, as long as it's near your accommodation. So those are the other things with the accommodations. You make sure you got a good food source. 90% of the time you have a dinner or some form of food provided, or you pay for through the shows on the Saturday nights. I've heard some have them on actually the Friday nights of the show. So yeah, no. So those are things to think about with shows and that, is your accommodation. Moving back to transport again, getting to and from the venues. If you have a car or a ute or a vehicle, yeah, that's fine. But if you are at a venue where there is parking, try and stay at your accommodation and parking at your accommodation, and either get a lift with someone if they're staying with you and share the cost of parking, or the other idea I say to people is use public transport. Melbourne is one of the best states when it comes to what is it, trams. They got one of the best tram networks in Australia. I think they have the free. If I'm right, free into loop. You have the loop in the city is free. Like in Brisbane, we have a bus loop where it's free. Runs in and out the city, around the city. One goes one way, one goes the other way. I'm not sure about Sydney or any other cities, but yeah, no. If you can get on free transport, that is a positive. But paying for transport is not too bad. If you got to spend a couple bucks to get somewhere, car parking can be expensive these days. In the city, you're looking $20 plus to park. Oh yeah, that is good. That is good. Having tram access. Oh, when we were at the convention centre on the Gold Coast, we had the new Gold Coast tram, and that was convenient. But yeah, no, trying to use public transport is probably your best bets. If you can be dropped off, that's even better, and not actually parking. Parking is a pain in the ass when it comes to paying, because you go, let's say you go to parks 3 days at a venue, let's say convention centre. I'm not sure what the price is now. It used to be $10. I think it's gone up. $10 a day. That's $30 you're out over the weekend. You're better off, yeah, 100% public transport, getting to and from, sharing rides. I don't want to say this, but I have to say this. Even get a bloody Uber. if it gets you there cheaper than what it is to park, do it. 100%. Now, we've covered all the in tibs and tabs. Even interstate. If you're going interstate, I forgot to say this. Planes, plan your flight. Don't cheap out on your flights too. I've heard people go budget and I've had a horrible weekend. Or my little tip. I know in America this would work. I'm not sure in Australia. It probably would work. Traveling by train, yes, it takes a little bit longer if you're going interstate, but you can actually carry a decent sized little mulk with you with no problems. So that could work. That could work. Um, so moving along to actual days of the events. 9% of the time they will tell you the information beforehand. Times for setup, times for coming and throwing, what time the doors open for you, what time it opens for the public, what bump in times are, bump out times are. Usually you've got some of them has sign in the case of Brick Venture down south. It's not too bad, but if you know the information up front, it does help. When you get to the venue, after you've signed in or got your paperwork or your documentation or your credential stuff, so that's like your ID, your pass, your next thing is finding where you are setting up. 90% of the time, they will send a plan out beforehand so you know where you're going. In the case of our show, they stopped doing that donkey yonks ago, and you got to guess where your display is by trying to work out what the little sheet is, what they don't even share with everyone. Be prepared to be limited on space. You might have been allocated X amount of space, but don't think you're going to get space to have a gap in between. Yeah. So that does happen. Some smaller shows, bigger shows, you might get that gap. Sometimes you don't. So be prepared to have a fair whack to get around your displays to get to the front. That does happen. It does happen show to show. You will have the problems of access to the front of your displays really badly. Some cases you don't even have access to behind your displays because they put your displays right up against the wall because they want to maximize space. Your chances of having a good show is zilch then. Also, you got to think about security with your displays. Make sure that anything worth anything is hidden. Cover your displays if you can. 90% of the times, stuff are stolen by cleaners. Kids walking through with parents at night who are setting up. Sometimes you have kids during the shows flog off. So keep your eye on your displays during the weekend. The number one thing everyone says, create a buddy system. Make friends. If you need to go and have a break, you got a friend you can trust or someone you know to look after your display. Yes, cool, sweet. But don't overextend your leave from your display. Usually that's a big no-no at most shows. In the case of small regionals like Brick Event does, usually our events are like so tiny. 90% of the times you don't have anyone in front of your display while you go away. Sometimes, yeah, you can walk away from it. But yes, make sure you have good security around your displays. It does happen. People do steal stuff. Just watch out. If you have something worth something, think about it. Do you want to take it or take it off the display at night and bring it back, or make sure it's out of reach for kids? In the cases of, I'm not sure if they've changed it. Melbourne does have the cases of not having bollards around your displays too. So yeah, so think about security. That is number one things. Another topic is food during shows. Now, you do get your busy periods, you get your quiet periods. When it's quiet, eat. Go eat, get food, get it out of the way, because as soon as it gets busy, you're not getting out of your display until late in the afternoon when the show starts to tip off and taper off to going home time. You will not be able to get food. Take snacks. Most venues don't really nag you about food if you're bringing it in yourself. Just sandwiches, chocolate bars, something quick and easy. Chippies, just little bags of chips. Our family take Smith chips boxes, multi boxes, and plain chips with us. We take even our own drinks. The other thing, make sure you drink enough water, especially if you're in aircon all day. You do get dehydrated. In the case of Melbourne, it gets bloody hot in their venues. They're supposed to be cool, but they're not. So you make sure you take plenty of water. Don't overhydrate because that can make you sick. Just keep your levels up to a point that you feel comfortable all day. Also, with venues, you also want to keep eye out for daylight. Direct sunlight is not your friend with your Lego because it can actually seriously damage the color and can even warp Lego in some cases. So you got to watch where your display is set up. If you think there's going to be sun on it, you might want to point it out to the organizers. Worst comes to worst, just stand where it is. Yeah, true. Trying to think of other topics. Having fun. That's one thing you got to do when you're at a show. Have fun. Seriously, have fun. Especially when you have the AFOL nights, or in case of Brickvention, they have the convention night. Get involved, get out there, have fun. If a group of people going out dinner one night, tag along. If you've got the money, do it. It's fun to get to talk to other AFOLs and out there. Also, talk to the public. I do have a problem of talking and into talking with the public. It depends on how I feel. Like last show, I had a toothache, so I really didn't talk much because I was in pain most times. Or in the case, I was tired. I was seriously tired. Yeah, that's the other topic. Do not go to the shows tired as well, because the public will think, yeah, this is really not our thing. Bye, and leave the show. And that's the reason why sometimes shows don't go down the gurgler. So talk to the public, talk to your fellow AFOLs. It's one way to get know the community out there. There's a lot of cool people out there. Like, I know so many new AFOLs, is ridiculous. I have friends from Cairns all the way down to Melbourne who are AFOLs, and some of mine personally met in person, but I've talked to them over a hangout. But yeah, no, friendship, it's good. True, yeah. Yeah. Tired and grumpy, yeah, people don't like. Yeah. Other things to remind too, if you're on medication, that shows, make sure you take your medication at right time, especially when you have daylight savings. In the case of down south, if you have your pills at a set time and you're not in daylight savings, that does affect you. But I think daylight savings only affects a small percentage of Australians and around the world. So that's another thing to think about, is your health. Make sure your health is good during the shows. 9% of the times you can come back from the show with a cold. I've heard people get full on blast flu, sore throats from talking too much. Sometimes overtiredness because you've had too much fun, you haven't slept. Make sure that you do rest up during the show. What I mean during the show, I mean like in between at night time. And before the show, before coming to the show, make sure you rest up really good. Make sure you're nice and hydrated when you get to the show. Make sure that you are well organized, well planned. Other things to think when you go to shows too is you got to make sure you plan out backups. 90% of the time, if you break something, you need something to repair it straight away. Anything from having a basic screwdriver set, getting your power functions and power up boxes out, through to fixing wiring. If you have lighting in that, carry spare batteries. That is the number one thing everyone gets wrong. They don't carry enough batteries. Always, I don't care what people say, always, if you're going to have batteries, take alkalines with you. Yes, rechargeables are good, but what happens if you can't recharge your batteries during the day? You're screwed. Yes, you might be lucky to charge them at night, but if something happens, it's good to have a good set of alkaline batteries. Are more reliable. Also, make sure if you have any extension leads, power boards, tag them. It does help to have a well organized toolbox. If you bring your own tables, make sure the tables have booties on. If you don't want to know what a booty is, it's usually the plastic cap on the bottom. If they don't have the plastic cap, you might want to put a plastic stopper or something on the bottom to keep it. I love that one. Use a solar panel to block the sun from your display. Win-win. Oh yeah. Yeah, but then if your display is like the sunlight's from the front way, it's going to block it. Yeah. Let's see. Where am I up to in this topic? Let's say make sure you have plenty of funds because fuel is not cheap these days. That is another major cost as well. So make sure you keep enough money beside for emergencies. Also, take money to spend because there's going to be stalls at those shows, and you're going to find something you really like, and you go, "Oh, damn it! I didn't bring any extra money with you." Trying to think. Meals at night. Usually, you get one provided, or you pay for one, or you go out with friends. In the cases of motels and hotels, if you're lucky enough, you got a microwave. You can get microwave meals and nuke them up, and you're happy as Larry for the rest of the night. Pack up. Okay, so this is bump out. I sort of covered it a bit at the beginning, but usually at bump out, you have a really strict limited time to bump out. 90% of the time, it's bump out. Sunday night, you go get out. Usually at regional shows, you will be asked to help pack up because 90% of the time you're either staying or you're moving along. In the case of us, oh yes. Make sure you have good coverage on RSCQ or in the case down south and NRMA or RACV. Assistance too when you're traveling too if you have a vehicle. Bumping out. With bumping out, yeah, you have minimal time. Make sure you pack the display up in a quick manner. Yes, you'll have some damage pack up, but that's the fun of Lego. Rebuilding it when you get home, building it, making it better. So you'll guarantee you're gonna have a bit of damage at the end of the show. So make sure when you pack up, make sure you put all your stuff together. So when you get home, you can fix it up and get it all out. Now, traveling home, make sure in the case of if you're traveling long distance, if you've traveled with friends, family, convoy. Convoy home with them. It's a great way because you're going to be exhausted Sunday night when you get home, unless you have the convenience of staying that extra night wherever you are. Like with us on Tweed, we're going down Tweed from the Sunshine Coast. Yeah, I'm quite close to the Tweed here, but all our displays are on the Sunshine Coast. We are travelling down to Tweed on the Friday, but we're not coming back until the Monday. So that does give us a little bit of refreshing. Make sure that you're not overtired. If you're traveling more than 2 hours, have a break every hour. 15 minutes minimum rest time is usually what the client. If you're traveling during school holidays here in Australia, we have a program that's run. What's called Driver Arrive. Even stop in for a free cup of coffee or tea. It does refresh your mind and body just to have that few minutes out of the car. Do not overdo your driving on the way home because the last 10 minutes of your drive is the most dangerous. And you don't want to have that accident. So make sure you plan to head home in a safe manner. If you feel like you can't do it, crash on a friend's floor who lives locally. 90% of the time, people will go, yeah, no, it's fine. But yeah, drive safely. Make sure that you're not too overtired when you leave. Have a good feed before you leave. That sometimes helps. A stomach full, digesting does actually help you keep awake a bit. Also, make sure you drink enough water on the trip home too, because you'll probably be a little mildly dehydrated. And when you're dehydrated, that is actually where tiredness does set in. So, safety, make sure you're traveling home very safely. So, if you can afford it, stay the extra night. If you have connections, stay with friends, family. Do that anyway. Save your trip home. I know people have to work in the morning or stuff like that. If you can take that time off, that is probably the best bet to do. And in that case, that's one topic I actually forgot to cover at the beginning with planning shows. Plan time off with work. Make sure you put your request in, I think, months in advance is the best thing. Usually some businesses ask minimum, I think, 6 months for busy times of the year during school holidays. Make sure you book out well in advance for your leave, so you have it, and don't overdo it. Don't overdo yourself. Don't do too many shows in the case of us. So I think that's been a good show. This is the goods, the bads. You've seen the ins, the outs of how AFOL shows, Lego fan shows are run in the cases of events and that. All I can say, keep your eyes out, guys. When I tweet, I'll do some behind the scenes and show you some detailed looks of what goes into an event if I have the time. Hopefully I'll have it this time. No toothache this time around. But until next week. Next week we got a Inside the Brickbox Lego Community News back next Wednesday. Well, we got a few topics to talk. News articles to talk about. Yeah, that will be some interesting things I will be talking about next week. Plus, Countdown to Tweed Heads is coming up. Don't forget, in Aussie Brick Chick on Friday, and her live stream on Tuesday night, the secret stream. Also, guys, if you are coming to any brick events, look for our store. We are always selling cool Lego parts, parted kits, minifigures, bricks. We even have lucky dips. Come and support us. This is how we travel around to these shows on a yearly basis. It's our way of supporting, in the case of ABC, her jewelry. Hopefully in the next few weeks, I will be trying to push to either get a Bricklink store open or a Facebook page to sell Lego. I dramatically have to cull a ton of my Legos soon, so every cent does help us keep running this YouTube channel and going to shows to bring new content and information. So until next week, guys, you stay safe, play well, and keep on building. This is Adam signing off for Inside the Brick Box, AFOL Current Affairs. Until then, see ya. Bye.